So I made a post praising God, and someone commented, and the person said, "What about the innocent people in Iran? Tell your God to do better." And they spell God with a lowercase g. If you see me looking down at my iPad, it's because I'm looking at my notes that I took. So I did a research paper for class, and I chose to talk about this. And the topic says, if God is real, then why do bad things happen? So as I'm doing my research, I came across a post from Reddit, and the ethical dilemma talks about suffering and God's role in human life. So it's a short story about a pastor and a barber. So the pastor's getting a haircut, and the barber's like, "Why do you want to be a pastor if God's not real?" So the pastor gives him a pretty nice tip, leaves the barbershop, and then comes across a homeless man full of hair. So the pastor brings the homeless man back inside and says, "Barbers don't exist, because if they did, this men wouldn't be looking like this." So the barber says, "Well, the problem is not that I don't exist, is because he never came to see me." So this answered the question that the barber had asked the pastor. This is reinforcing that suffering, it's not caused by God's absence, rather by the human disconnection. Let me answer that person that asked me that question, right? When it comes to war, and let me say, I don't condone violence and I don't condone war or anything like that. When it comes to war and violence, it's more complex because people are suffering. The book of Genesis, right, tells us how God created everything perfect. And then Adam and Eve sinned. Sin began, and that's when it changed everything. And God even gave us a second chance when the story of Noah's Ark. God gave us a second chance by flooding the earth because there was so much bad, so much evil, so much sin going on. And we might not know if there were probably wars going on, and that's why God wiped out the earth, right? Gave us a second chance. And here we are again, sinning and doing and having free will and doing everything that we want to do. So how can you sit here and say, oh, if God's real, none of this would have been happening, when God gave us a second chance by wiping all the sin away because there was just too much evil going on? And here we are doing the same thing. So the people that's affected by war and violence and things like that, it's not necessarily because God's allowing it. It's because it's the consequence of our sin. And the people in many generations, like the government, the military, like it's the results from stuff like that. And I don't condone war. I don't condone violence. And God says, don't let your right hand know what your left hand does. But for that person, do you know that I actually donated money to Iran about a month ago? No one knows, but I did. Instead of sitting here blaming God, why don't we sit and pray for them and support them and come up with ways to make this a better world instead of just doing nothing and just blaming God? Romans 5:12-21 explains that Adam's sin led to the destruction of the whole human race. So this shows that instead of blaming God for the suffering, it provides a clear picture that everything that we experience is direct results from our sins and the things that we do. I hope the person that commented watches this video and something in you sparks an interest for you to learn more.